everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I am Manahil Remote Jawali and I am from Karachi, Pakistan. Today we have the privilege of hosting our distinct guest, Mr. John. He is an accomplished director, producer, and author with notable achievements such as Emmy nomination and various awards for his work. So let's extend a warm welcome to our guest and delve into his remarkable journey in the world of entertainment. So welcome, sir. How are you? Oh, sorry, your mic was mute. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, and I hope the same for you.
Thank you. So thank you so much, sir, for giving me your precious time. Before moving on, question, can you please introduce yourself for my viewers?
My pleasure.
Can you introduce yourself for my viewers?
I'm sorry, say again?
Can you introduce yourself for my viewers?
Tell you about myself?
Yeah, can you tell us about yourself for my viewers?
Sure. I'm a 50-year veteran filmmaker, director, writer, producer, an Emmy-nominated uh, filmmaker, as well as 8 other award-winning productions. I've written 6 books and many screenplays, and I'm also a mental health expert.
Alright, sir, great. Thank you so much, sir, for your introduction. So now let's move on to questions. My first question is on your screen. Can you tell us a bit about your background and how you got started in the entertainment industry?
Sure. I think by way of background, I started out college as a chemistry major, and it was for all the wrong reasons. I wanted to cure cancer because my dad died when I was 3. And my chemistry teacher recognized it and said, "Look, you're an A student, but you need to find yourself. You're really an artist." So a friend of mine that same day took me over to the theater and said, "Could you help us out?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And one thing led to another, and I wound up becoming the lead in the play that day, and I had no experience whatsoever. So by the time I started figuring out that this seemed like a really nice world I wanted to get in, I went to Los Angeles and studied my master's degree, where I met a gentleman who was in the film business and told him I wanted to make that transition into film. And I had a very lucky break. It wasn't easy. It was a lot of different little odd jobs that I got, and then everything fell apart until a friend brought me back into another job, and from there it took off. It was not an easy path. It was very difficult, but I wasn't going to give up. But that's how I managed to get in.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So now let's move on to next question. My next question is on your screen. You are known for your work as a director, producer, author. Can you share some of your favorite projects and what made them special to you?
Sure. One is I did the TriStar logo. My production company had to create the logo, the one with the horse coming out of the clouds, from scratch, and they wanted it all real, nothing fake, other than the wings of the horse, of course. What made that special is that it became an iconic, uh, introduction, an iconic piece that goes before all of their movies. And so it took a lot of research. Back then, we didn't have digital photography. So we had to do it all in film and in different formats, 35 millimeter, 70 millimeter. We had, unlike digital where you can put things together on the fly, we had over 100 pieces of film that we had to crush into one piece and make it come alive and create the illusion that this horse could actually fly. That was one of my favorite things. The other challenging one was I was tasked with trying to figure out how to shoot a rock and roll concert live on film. Now, in film, what you do with anything is you have what's called a clapper, and they come and they go, marker. And what that does is it tells the editor when you hit the clap That's where the audio and picture have to sync up so that the lips match the spoken word. And so I had to figure out how to shoot this without somebody running across the stage during a live concert and clapping. And through a lot of research and understanding, I created a system where there were monitors hooked up to the audio truck that were running what's called SMPTE timecode, which is common now, but back then it wasn't really notable. And I had 8 cameras in different positions all over the auditorium. And the cameraman would start on the monitor, which was running the time code, and then pan up to the stage so you had an automatic slate. That was, it sounds easy to do now, but back then, without knowing how to do that, it was quite a challenge.
All right, sir. Great answer. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So now let's move on to next question. My next question is: your work has earned you an nomination and awards. About one of your proudest moment or achievement in your career.
Well, I think probably the most memorable or proudest moment was receiving the Emmy nomination. I mean, that's a very big deal. Um, I also directed a film that I adapted from one of my novels called No Solicitors. It's a horror movie, basically, but it won Best Director and it won Best Actor, and it won a lot of awards, and I was very proud of that. The TriStar logo certainly was, but there was another series that I did. I did 80 episodes of a show called Bobby's World, starring Howie Mandel. And they didn't know how to marry live action with animation, and I was able to figure out how to do it and make it seamless for the editors to put it together.
Okay, all right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, Bobby is a project you are known for. Could you share some insight into the making of this project and what inspired you to work on it?
Well, Bobby's World was Howie Mandel. And when I got contacted, they brought me in to have a discussion, and they said, "We have a problem." I said, "What's the problem?" And they said, "Well, we're trying to marry animation with live action." And, and I smiled and said, "Let me guess, you did the animation first." And they said, "Yeah." They said, "Can it be fixed?" I said, "Absolutely." And there's a way to do it with some fundamental green screen techniques and that kind of thing. Uh, so we created a situation where I was able to marry the two pieces, and the company called me and said, "The editor is absolutely in love with you. You did it perfectly. Everything's lining up. We want you to do a couple more shows." A couple more turned into 80 episodes. So that was a really exciting moment for me.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, what challenges have you faced in your career, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think the first challenge I had in my career was I knew no one. I had no contacts. My parents weren't in the film business. No one I knew was in the film business. And I moved out here from Colorado to do my master's degree with $75 in my pocket. So I had to come up with solutions or at least a process of how I was going to get in the business. And it took a long time before I finally got my first job, uh, that I did on my own. And then I had to start creating other ways of getting attention because everyone was sending in resumes and people were trying to make them like blue and pink and all sorts of stuff. But I had to come up with another idea. And I'm laughing because I look back and say this was crazy that I did this, but I went to Chinatown and I went to one of the factories and I said, "You guys make fortune cookies?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Can you make me a big fortune cookie and put my resume inside?" They say, "Oh, yeah, we can do that." So I got a bunch of those and I sent it out to all these commercial companies I want to work for with a note that says, "Open fortune cookie or you will regret." It was like a little fun thing. And they opened it and there was my resume. And I got more calls off of that. They said, "Where did you come up with a fortune cookie like that?" I said, "Oh, you're going to have to hire me to find that out." And we all laughed, of course. And it started getting me work. So I think the challenges I had to face was without anybody to guide me, no role models, and no contacts, how was I going to break in? So I had to be more creative than the next person in order to get the attention of everyone trying to get the attention of the executive producers of any of the companies.
All right, awesome, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, as an author, what topics do you like to explore in your writing? And do you have any upcoming literacy project?
Yes, most writers tend to write in a genre, whether it's romance or thrillers or this. My head is filled with so many stories that I can't even begin to explain. I've written 6 novels. They're all vastly different. There's not one that's a genre oriented. So, in other words, I don't do like a crime book and then crime book two, crime book three, crime book four. I feel it's more valuable for me to expand myself and tell the stories that I want to tell. As far as what's coming, I finished a book called The Myth that I'm looking for a literary agent right now. It's a science fiction of how we got here as human beings, the link between the Homo sapien, the Neanderthal, and the Homo sapien, with a little love interest in how uh, this solar system had 3 planets and wound up getting into galactic wars and leaving us with one planet. So that's interesting. I have my novel, which is my memoir called When the Rain Stops, which is my life about mental health journey, a little boy in a ghetto coming to be a Hollywood director. So I think a lot of people have benefited by reading it because they can see that regardless of what challenges you might have emotionally, you can overcome them and not let it ruin your life and move on to be very successful. Right now, Christmas Voices is a story that I have packaged, that I wrote, that I changed into a screenplay, and that we're seeking investors right now. But it has all the elements to go into production. But it's basically a story of a young boy in a farm, being very poor, rose to becoming a gazillionaire, basically very wealthy, but lost sight of the most valuable thing he had in his life, which was his family. So it's really a modern day Scrooge, cross between A Christmas Carol and A Wonderful Life.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, can you share any advice of aspiring directors, producers, or authors who are looking to break into entertainment industry?
Yes, I think it's important to identify your end game. If you want to be a director, a producer, a writer, you have to say, okay, that's where I want to go. But most importantly, I think young people forget to look at where they're at the moment. You can't go on a set as a production assistant carrying a cooler one day and then come into the set the next day and think you're going to be the writer, director, or producer. That takes a lot of time and experience. So my advice is to take any job you can, find any opportunity you can to get the experience, and slowly build up a client list. Forget about the money. The money at that point is not important. What's important is to get the credits on your resume so that you can then promote yourself and get financial rewards. I dropped my price in half when I was first going into the business just to get clients. And as they saw that my value each year or every so many months, I would increase it like just $25, maybe $50. And eventually I got up to the high level of the top paid director, writer, and producers. So it was a smart move to understand there's steps to go, that you can't rush it, and experience speaks for itself.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your advice. So, how do you balance your role as a director, producer, and author? Do you have any strategies for managing multiple creative endeavors?
Yes, first you have to sit down and decide what you have on your plate. So, for example, if I'm writing a novel, that's one thing. If I'm writing a screenplay, that's another. If I'm doing another creative adventure, that's another. Then the next thing you have to do is realize what stage of that creative process you're in. Are you in the thinking stage? Are you in the script stage? Are you in the writing stage? Are you working towards a goal? Then what I always do is I sit down in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to use this as an example. I have 3 creative things I want to do. What point of development are each one of them in? So if this one is in the really far development stage, that's not going to take as much time as these other 2. So then I say, I've got 10 hours a day to work. So I'm going to put 2 hours aside for each. So that's 6 hours. Now that gives me 4 hours to do something else. So then what I do after the 6 hours and those three things is I say, okay, which one of my babies need a little bit more nurturing? Which one needs a little bit more of my attention? And which one is the closest to yielding some sort of either financial reward or project acknowledgement from other people? And then I just keep at it day to day to day. And believe me when I say this, it sometimes gets very frustrating and sometimes it even gets depressing because you think, am I getting anywhere with this? What am I doing? You know, my work stinks, blah, blah, blah. You've got to get out of your head and just keep pushing forward. And when that happens, you need to take a break, go for a walk, bicycle ride, whatever you do, and just tell yourself, calm down. You know, this is all about developing your career. And it's more importantly, you're not doing a job, you're doing something you really love. So it becomes less work oriented and more creative, which is what's exciting for me.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your strategy. So now let's move on to next question. Are there any upcoming projects or collaborations that you are excited about and would like to share with your audience?
Yes, I think I mentioned a novel called Christmas Voices that I'm doing. I took the novel and made it into a screenplay. And I have a partner in Atlanta, Georgia, that is working day in and day out with me to raise the funds in order to do it. Now, one of the investors that we have wants us to film a scene out of the movie as what's called proof of concept to show that we know what we're doing and that we can create something. So we picked the scene out of the screenplay, and we did a budget because without a budget, you don't know what you're up against. And it came out to a little over $12,500 to film this one scene. So we started a GoFundMe campaign, and within the first week, we already raised over $1,700. So we're really excited and hopeful about that. And hopefully, in the next few weeks or month, we'll be able to film the scene and submit it as proof of concept.
All right, sir. Great. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, have you had any mentors or individuals who have greatly influenced your personal growth? If so, could you share a bit about them?
Sure. One of my main mentors started when I was in my undergraduate work in Colorado. He ran a theater in Denver and took me on as his intern. And he mentored me both in acting, set design, lighting, production management, set building. And he showed me that I really wanted to be a director by seeing what he did as a director. And I told him that. He gave me some very strong advice about how to be a director, which was to get around as many of them as you can and see their techniques and then adapt what works for me and how I could be a good, solid director. Other mentors came into my life, like the gentleman who brought me into the business, the first day of my life as a filmmaker. He was a mentor. Then I met a gentleman in a graphics company by doing a teaser trailer for a theatrical film called Golden Child with Eddie Murphy. And during that process, he and I got to be pretty close. And he invited me to his company one day to chat and said, look, I really like what you're doing. I'd like you to be the production company for my company. So you'll do all the productions and everything. And I said, I gratefully respect and appreciate what you just offered, but I can't do that. And he said, why? I said, because Vilmos Zsigmond's company hired me to do this job and you're his client. And if I take you on as my client, I'm backstabbing somebody who gave me work. And I just have the ethics to not do that. He said, well, think about it. I went to Vilmos and Tom, his producer at the time, and told him exactly what happened. And Vilmos hugged me and said, there's very few people in this business that have that much ethics. And it taught me a lesson very quickly that don't be so greedy to take on anything you can get. Always question your ethics about what you're doing because that reputation will precede you. And because of that, it started getting around and people trusted me with their money and their projects because they knew I wouldn't mess with them. And I think that's a great lesson for any young filmmaker is don't be impatient. Your time will come if you put in the work. but don't take jobs away from people or anything like that. You will get karma will catch up to you. Let's put it that way.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful answer. So, my next question is, what's your vision for the future of your career in the entertainment industry, and what do you hope to achieve next?
That's a great question. I'm a 50-year veteran. I've been doing this for 50 years. So, what I hope to accomplish in my career is to continue to be able to work and put out product that people like and get recognition and certainly financial awards to the person who put their money in to give me the opportunity to make the art that I want. So, really, for me, it's just about continuing my life and developing projects and being able to have the luxury to make them. Uh, I think there's nothing more joyful than being able to get on the set and work with all of your creative team and the actors and build something that comes alive even beyond what your dreams were because the script is a blueprint. And believe me when I say from script to production is one script, production to editing is another script, and final is yet another script. So it keeps evolving, and I just love to watch my baby grow up right in front of my eyes. And it's exciting to see moments that I could not have dreamt of putting in, but the actors brought that to the project, and other creative people did as well. So the collaboration is really exciting for me.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful answer. So, can you share a piece of advice or a life lesson that we found particularly valuable throughout your journey?
Well, I think life lessons are really to understand who you are first. You must always know your position in any given situation. So, whatever spiritual base you have, you need to make sure that becomes part of not just a talking point, but part of how you act as a human being. Um, Being kind to each other will go a lot further than hating and calling names and disrespecting people because of skin tone or anything else. So I think it's very important, life lesson wise, to be kind, always know where you are so you're not going to be taken advantage of, certainly, and know your value, know your worth as a human being, and treat people the way you want to be treated.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, are there any specific life experiences or moments that have shaped your perspective and values?
Yes. I was sent away to military school and was very badly abused, which is in When the Rain Stops, my memoir. And I had to come to terms with my mental health issues that I was having, my depression, my abandonment issues. And it got so bad that by the time I was 15 years old, I went to the edge of a dock where there was a thinly frozen lake and I jumped in to commit suicide. Now, fortunately for me, when I was underwater, I realized that's not the answer. And I got out and it started to change my life because I decided the reason I was in this position was nobody's fault but my own. And I needed to find ways to get out of that and change the way I operated in life and to start allowing people to come in and help me. As you mentioned before, mentors. So I had a soccer coach that mentored me, a wrestling coach, and I found for me an outlet for all my aggression, which was sports. You know, because on the sports field, you can do whatever you want, basically, short of really hurting anyone. But it gave an opportunity to get all that frustration out of me, and I was able to start calming down and I got mentored without even knowing it at times. And people were pushing me towards the creative, and I had no idea what they were doing. So I had to start to open up and remain aware of some opportunities that were coming my way. But the turning point, one of the major turning points, was realizing suicide was not the answer, and I needed to get my head straight about that.
Great, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. And as we wrap about this interview, and you are giving us very valuable answer and your insights with us, your incredible journey and Thank you so much for sharing your journey and insights. It has been a pleasure to learn about your experiences as a director, producer, and author. We are truly appreciate your time and the valuable information you will shared with your audience. We wish you continued success in all your future endeavors. To our viewers, thank you for joining us this insightful interview. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories from the world entertainment. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. You have a beautiful and lovely day.
Thank you. Bye.